welcome. Did you know that one of the most popular subgenres of television programme is the police procedurals? Your classic officers investigate, find some clues. It's your good versus evil battle where the good guys generally come out on top by catching the baddies. And, for very good reason, it's also quite popular in gaming. In fact, a large amount of games have a classic good versus evil trope. But what about games where you get to be the cops? I've put together a little list of my favourite games where you get to play as a police officer and capture those baddies. And we're going to kick it off with LA Noire, a franchise owned by Rockstar that they desperately need to make a sequel to. This came out on the 7th gen console, so we're definitely overdue. When this first launched, obviously it got a lot of attention simply by being a Rockstar game, and there was a lot of marketing and talk about the revolutionary face capture, motion capture technology used, that would enable you to read the facial expressions of the perps you were interrogating and guess if they were lying or not. Rockstar invented a whole mechanic around this, and whilst it perhaps didn't work quite as well as they wished, it did offer a new thing to gaming, a new mechanic, and the game itself overall is just great fun. It's set in 1947 LA, and you're playing as World War II veteran Cole Phelps. You'll be taking on a variety of cases, working with different partners throughout, and there is an overlying story arc, which I won't spoil just in case you've not played it, but it's actually really quite good. The story, the setting, everything about the game plays tribute to the noir films of the age. You feel like it should almost be in black and white. You have got an open world here where you can charge around. You will have random calls come through where you can stop things such as bank robberies. I do strongly recommend, if you're going to buy this, unless you haven't got access to an 8th gen console, get it on the PS4 or the Xbox One. Get the Ultra HD version. The reason being, apart from the fact it's a little bit more polished graphically, but it still looked good on the 7th gen, they updated the prompts where you're questioning the perps. A criticism of this game was that Cole Phelps, the character, ends up shouting for no reason, and they made it make a little bit more sense. That said, you can't go wrong with either. It's a good time to be had. Moving on from Rockstar to a big franchise which has only, to my knowledge, had one cop game. I'm talking Battlefield Hardline. Far more famous, of course, for its World War shooters. This is a little gem which I actually really enjoy. It's got my favourite Battlefield campaign of any of them. It's there with its trademark first-person view, it's got fantastic graphics, and it plays very much like a TV show with individual episodes. 10 from memory. You're playing as an officer new to a precinct, out there laying down the law. You get partnered up with somebody so they can train you along the way. And while you're there, you uncover all sorts of things, from organised crime, smuggling, and, without wanting to give any spoilers, some corruption within the police department. The shootouts are of course the highlight of the game, with Battlefield's trademark destructible environments, lends some real weight to it. There are also some driving missions which I think were fantastic fun, and quite frankly I just wish there were more of them. You also have some stealth missions. Whilst you're there, as a police officer, you're not obviously just going to shoot everybody. You do have to do some investigating, find some clues. You get plenty of opportunity to do that as well. You'll even come across some stealth options. It's a really well-rounded experience, and I do believe if Battlefield made another one of these, it could be a success. Yes, the online multiplayer servers are long gone, but you can pick this game up for absolute peanuts. It's really cheap. It's a 6+ hour campaign of pure fun, and I think welcome in everybody's collection. Third on the list, we're going for Sleeping Dogs. This game was originally planned to be a sequel to the True Crime series, and in some ways I'm really glad it wasn't, because the True Crime series hasn't aged particularly well, and this game has. It originally came out on the 7th gen, but has had remasters on the 8th gen consoles as well. You can't go wrong with either, quite honestly. They all look great and play great. And you are an undercover officer in Hong Kong. You've got a lovely open world, and as an officer trying to infiltrate the triad, it's very fortunate that you've got parkour and martial arts training. One of the highlights of the game, and that you'll have seen in plenty of clips, is that you can climb on top of cars during chases, jump from one to another, take out the driver, commandeer the vehicle. It is so much more than a GTA clone. The martial arts side of things make it stand out in its own way a bit uniquely. It might remind you a bit of the Yakuza series, but that's no bad thing, of course. Racing around the open world in cars will remind you of GTA, and the gunplay, well, that's just good fun. Another compelling story as well. Get your teeth into this one. A real good, solid experience that everybody should play at least once. Next up, we have a game available on pretty much every platform you can think of. RICO. You're a member of an elite drug-busting squad, which RICO is an acronym for, I just can't remember. Designed to be played either as co-op or single player, you are given 24 hours to solve a case. Now obviously they're not real hours, they're game hours, with each mission taking a certain amount of time. You choose your path, you're given different options of where to go and raid, and each game is set within a building. You blast through the doors, take out every enemy within, capture all the evidence, sometimes disarm some bombs, and have a really good, really fun, enjoyable first-person shooter experience. Whenever you break down a door, time slows down just a teeny tiny bit to give you time to react. The cel-shaded style looks absolutely perfect. It's a bit basic, I will admit, but that doesn't stop it being great fun. There is also a sequel, RICO London. It is a bit copy and paste of the original game, but hey, when you've got something that's good fun and works, why not stick with it? I've got them both. It's really good fun. If you want something just to have a quick game of that you can pick up and put down, or a short multiplayer experience to have a bit of fun with your mates, you can't go wrong. The next game is one of the greatest third-person shooters of all time, Max Payne 3. I've given this game its own video. I'll put a link on the end card if you want to check it out. Now, technically in this game, he's an ex-cop. So you might be thinking I should have put Max Payne 1 or 2 on here, where he still is a police officer. But honestly, any excuse to talk about Max Payne 3, because it's just phenomenal. You're an ex-cop acting as a private security, basically a bodyguard, when very predictably, everything goes wrong, and you've got to go and save the day. This is of course the game made by Rockstar, unlike the original 2. They did change the setting from bleak and dark New York, for the most part. You do go back to New York a little bit in some flashbacks, to a bit more sunnier clime, but the gameplay here is just absolutely superb. It takes the third person cover shooter and just refines it and polishes it to perfection. Yes, of course, you've got the bullet time, the great fun mechanic which Max Payne not only made popular but refined and made perfectly work as well. The story's compelling, the gameplay's superb. If you haven't played this game, please play it. It's honestly awesome. The next game takes us away from the shootouts and violence to something a little bit more for the thinking man. Murdered Sole Suspect. The game kicks off with you getting murdered, and as a ghost you are there to go and solve your own case. Yes, you're out to discover who killed you. This supernatural touch is quite charming and also quite unique. As you journey throughout the world, you will find of course side missions which you can take on. They're further cases but in a much shorter format. You can determine what happened, either solving another person's murder or, well, I won't give any spoilers, but other types of crime. You manipulate objects in the world because of course the alive people can't see you, to try and steer them in a direction or get information out of them, monitor conversations, pick up clues, and with this being a supernatural game, there are of course some supernatural enemies out there to take your ghost. It's your job to either avoid or take them down. The story in this is by far and away the highlight. The gameplay is fun, but you're really playing it through for the story. It's got a great little twist of an ending, and if you want something a little bit different, maybe a bit like a ghostly version of the Dark Pictures games, you should give this one a go. This next series is known by far and away more for being a PC game, but not being a PC gamer, I've only ever experienced the 2 console versions. SWAT Global Strike Team is a PlayStation 2 gem. First person shooter, but of course, being a police officer, and a member of the SWAT team, you're not just there to go and kill everybody. You're in charge of a squad. You can give them admittedly rather basic commands, but it is a PlayStation 2 game where you can tell them to rush into a room, breach, throw in a flashbang. The idea, of course, and the bonus points that you get come from taking down suspects with non-lethal force, i.e. getting them to surrender and putting the cuffs on them. And of course, save the hostages. That's the main purpose of the game. It's a real shame that they didn't make further console versions of the future games. The only other version that you can play on a non-PC, to my knowledge, is the PSP version of this game, which plays completely differently because you're playing it from a top-down perspective, and it honestly feels like a completely different game, but a very good one nonetheless, a very good experience on the PlayStation Portable. I would love to talk about more recent entries, but as I said, I'm not a PC gamer, but if you are, I strongly suggest you check it out, because if these early games are anything to go by, the more recent ones must be great. Let me know in the comments if you've played a more recent SWAT game on PC, and if it's as good as I expect it to be. FBI agents are sort of like cops, right? So I'm going to put this one on the list. The X-Files, Resist or Serve. And I'm sure it will come as no surprise that you're taking on the role of either Mulder or Scully. You can actually play through this game as either or, and whilst you do have the same story and ultimately always get to the same objectives, you have different obstacles along the way and some different gameplay mechanics depending whom you play as. So there is some good replayability there. For what it's worth, I recommend playing as Scully, as you do get some extra gameplay there, where she uses her doctor skills to carry out some autopsies and also mix up some antidotes to venoms and things. This is a PS2 exclusive game, and they made it very much in the vein of a survival horror. There's 3 episodes in the story with multiple little chapters in between, and it does play with the Resident Evil-esque fixed camera as you walk through a room. X-Files and survival horror goes together quite well. It's not really much of a stretch if you're a fan of the TV show, and you have got the classic combat in there as well as the puzzles, and a really good mixture of them both as well. It will feel very dated if you're not used to playing retro games, but you'll get into it nice and quickly. You're off to investigate some deaths involving an alien artefact, classic X-Files trope. You're trotting around the globe, well, a little bit. You've got some interesting locations at least. And whilst this is not a very well-renowned game, I had a thoroughly good time playing it and have no hesitation recommending it to anyone. And let's end on a lighter note. Go away from the survival horror elements of the X-Files to something more family friendly. Lego City Undercover. I'm sure the majority of us have played this now. It's very much a Lego version of GTA in a very family friendly way. It's got the trademark Lego humour, a fun open world full of things made out of Lego blocks to smash and bash. I actually played this for the first time on the 3DS. I think it's available on pretty much everything. So no matter what system you've got, as long as it's obviously after the 3DS, you should be able to get it on it. It's fun for kids of all ages. I actually really enjoy playing this game. It's light, it's humorous, it actually plays really well. I'm not a big fan of the Lego games, but even I like this one. So if you do like the Lego games, I dare say this could be the best one you've ever played. And that's my little list. There were multiple other games I could have put in. I might do a part 2. Let me know if you want one. Let me know any suggestions you've got for games to go in a part 2. Have you played any of these? Do you agree that they're as good as I say they are? Love to hear from you as always. And until next time, see you soon.